Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan. I am here for the PGA Tour edition of the Predictive Playbook with none other than the Deputy Sports Director of Sports Betting Content at ESPN, David Bearman. Welcome to the show, David.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. I know the title's a mouthful at times, but sports betting and ESPN, it's all you need there. We're good.
Yeah, I try to probably do too much with that, and I should just, hit the ball to right center and take the double, But, last week was, an even week. I think probably on the bets we made off the show is probably like losing the VIG on some of them. But still, you've won 8 out of 9 weeks in a big way. You also had a big DFS week this past week, as from when I remember, right? You cashed pretty big in the DFS.
I did, and there was a couple of guys I gave out. Obviously, Justin Rose did not play well, missed the cut, went right back to 2020 Justin Rose, so that was a complete miss. Corey Connors almost made the top 20, finished T21, but won me my matchup. I did have Jason Cockcroft finish up there in the top 10, so that was pretty good. Won a matchup as well. One of the guys that I didn't give out on the show to bet on, but I believe we talked about using him in DFS with Keenan Bradley. I did use him and Sam Burns in DFS, and Sam Burns was a last-minute thing. Obviously, this show goes on Tuesday. It was probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning, 1 a.m. when I decided to move some people around, and I took out Gary Woodland, and I put in Burns, and obviously Sam Burns went on to win. I wish I had used him betting-wise. I did use him in DFS, so I did win money there. But, yeah, the picks were a little bit on the red side this week, especially with Justin Rose missing the cut and guys like, I believe I had one other guy who did not do well on the weekend. And Paul Casey. Paul Casey was up there on Thursday and Friday, fell off, had a bad weekend. And, you're not going to win every single week. I'm not going to sit here, apologize for that. I try to do my best. And
absolutely not.
Picks and hopefully we'll get back on the winning horse this week. I will say that, you and I have talked about this on the show, not just the picks to win, top 10s, top 20s, but follow the action, jump in, live betting when you can. Bet the matchups. I don't tend to bet many Thursday matchups, but I'll jump in Friday, seeing how the course played Thursday. Once the cut is made, I'll reassess on Saturday and Sunday. And I did do pretty well. I think I went 3-1 in the head-to-head matchups, which then put me right back at about even for the week. So there is ways to get some more money outside of what we just discussed on this show. And I would just say, if we did this show every single day, I'd probably give you more picks on Thursday and more picks on Friday. Can follow along. I know a lot of people tail, and I'm proud of that. And just pay attention. I also give them out on Twitter as well. So when I feel strongly about something, I'll tell people to go ahead and take it. Wasn't that great of a weekend, but at least we were able to just lose a little bit there.
Yeah, that was when Keegan Bradley was tied for the lead on Sunday. I really thought, he was just going to run away with it, but it didn't turn out that way. But the scare for me was Oosthuizen in my DFS. I played the 50-50s this week. And the reason I did it seems like, after a major, like the first couple of weeks after that, it's kind of, the big stars are missing. And there's just not as much excitement around it as a major is. And, we had the team event prior to the event last week. And now it seems like we're starting to ramp up towards the PGA championship, which is the next event of the majors. And none better course than Quail Hollow. And I love these courses that have those 3 holes that are the gauntlet. And in this case, the gauntlet is called the Green Mile. And it's 16, 17, and 18. And, you guessed it. Those 3 holes total 1,760 yards, give or take. And the average score on those 3 holes, going back 5 years, is 1 over par. And that doesn't sound like much, right? A lot of us can play 1 over par for 3 holes. But a lot of us would probably play 6 over or more on these 3 holes. So I got to believe, David, coming into this week, this is a course that probably tee to green is going to be a big metric, and driving distance. So you tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. And if I'm right, then I got to believe the name Bryson is going to be on the list.
Yeah, and this is a tough course, just like last week. I believe Copperhead last week, Quail Hollow this week. They're ranked 1-2 on the PGA Tour in terms of toughest 71s. Quail Hollow used to be a 72. They made it a 71 for the PGA Championship a couple of years ago in 2017, and they've left it a 71, which has made it significantly harder. And why is it harder than Copperhead? It is longer, and it's tougher to play. It's one of those courses you talked about the last 3 holes. You really want to have a lead at the end of 15. And you're right. I do think tee to green and off the tee and driving distance are a couple of the metrics that I am looking at this week. I do think this particular course in this event, you have to be very flexible. You and I have talked about measuring course history versus recent form versus course metrics and where the balance is. We weigh course history a lot more at Augusta, where we might weigh course metrics more at TPC Sawgrass. This is a weird mix. I think Quail Hollow has not been around as long as the other ones. You're not going to get 50 years of history. It's played differently since it was a major. In 2017, it didn't. This particular Wells Fargo event was held at a different course. So you got to take that in consideration, because if you just look and see that Jon Rahm finished 4th in 2017, you're not doing yourself justice, because it wasn't held at Quail Hollow, although he did do decent at the PGA Championship. But back to your point about tee to green and distance and off the tee, all good metrics to use this week, and there is nobody better on tour in those 3 metrics than Bryson. It shouldn't come as a surprise. The guy is obviously the longest in driving distance by far, which is half of the off the tee metric. But the tee to green, I think, is sneakily one of the metrics that you and I use a lot, and Bryson leads the tour in that. And that's not just driving distance and accuracy. That's also getting out there with the irons and hitting the greens. And Bryson has shown that when he does hit the fairway, he's just as good of an iron player as anybody else. His drawback is he doesn't always hit the fairways. There's a reason why he's 136th on tour in accuracy. That's the bottom barrel of the tour. But when he does hit the greens, like he has in last year's US Open and other courses, he tends to have a runaway win. This is a guy that when he's on, just like Dustin Johnson, will win by 4, 5, 6 strokes and make Sunday meaningless. It is possible at Quail Hollow that if Bryson does hit the fairways, he's 15th on tour on approach. So we know that if he does hit the fairways, he can hit the greens. And with the length that he has, should he hit the fairways, I would call for a runaway win. But 136th on tour in accuracy, middle of the pack in greens and regulation at 58th on tour because of his accuracy off the tee. If he misses, it's a guy that's going to finish middle of the pack, maybe get you a top 10. But it's Bryson always been high risk, high reward type guy. I do think the odds are in our favor with the 14-1 spot. Jon Rahm and Justin Thomas are 9-1. So if you're looking to play one of the favorites, I would play Bryson before I played the other 2. We just talked about why Bryson is good at this course. It's a long track. He plays well at long tracks. I don't think you're getting the same value with Justin Thomas, who has not played particularly well. I know he won Sawgrass. Prior to Sawgrass, his previous top 10 was at the Century Tournament, which is only a short 30-person field. That's his only other top 10 this year. Kind of played well last week with the T13, but was never really in contention. So I don't think Thomas, his putting right now is not good enough to win this event. If the putter gets hot, which it did at Sawgrass, that's when I hopped on him live and I saw him make 2 long putts on 1 and 2 on Saturday. You jump right on him and take him. I got him at 8-1. He had been 30-1 before he made those 2 putts, and he wound up finishing as the winner. So you got to pay attention to that, and that's a top 10 that I'll give away later. And Jon Rahm has only played this course once at the PGA Championship. The only time he's played Quail Hollow as the Wells Fargo. He has not played Quail Hollow as the Wells Fargo. He's played it as 2017 PGA Championship and played the Wells Fargo at the other course. So those are guys who have better odds than Bryson. I would rather play Bryson 15th on approach, finished 4th here 2 years ago, always plays the long tracks well. And remember, if you start seeing him hit fairways, he's just as good enough to win as anybody.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think a guy that's kind of flying under the radar, if that's even possible, and another bomber is Rory McIlroy. So I would think that he would be an excellent choice for this course too. And we talked the last time about him with the swing, that he had gravitated towards swinging like Bryson and over swinging and getting those extra yards. And then there was talk that he was going back to the consistent 310 yards down the middle drive. Do you know any development with that? And if he has gone back to the shorter drive, I can't even believe I'm saying that, shorter drive, 310 yards, whether that pays dividends for him on a track like this.
Hey, with Rory, all I know is he hasn't played since the Masters. So you're talking about a full month off. You would hope he has spent those 3-4 weeks working on figuring out whatever he is. When I make these picks, I tend to love full transparency. And John, here's the full transparency. Nobody has played Quail Hollow better than Rory McIlroy, period. Those are the facts. He's only 2-time winner. He won it in 2010 and 2015, runner-up in 2016, a couple other top 10s, T8 in 2009, all-time money winner at this event. Quail Hollow, Rory McIlroy. It's a marriage that's made. Full transparency, the guy's been terrible recently. Hasn't played since the Masters, missed the cut badly at the Masters, missed the cut badly at Sawgrass, didn't qualify for the round of 16 at the match play, although he had one win and one blowout to Ian Poulter. So that's what we have. We have Rory, great at this course, fits him perfectly when Rory is Rory. Like you said, he can bomb it out there, just as good of a ball striker as anybody else, great irons. Rory is one of the best in the business. When he is on, this is a win for Rory McIlroy. I am willing to take that chance this week for a couple of reasons, John. One, he's 18-1. You don't see Rory McIlroy 18-1 in any event. You never see that. The odds are basically because you haven't seen or heard from him since the Arnold Palmer Invitational back in March. That's 2 months ago was his last top 10. Since then, miscut, didn't qualify, hasn't played since then. So 18-1, to me, it actually probably should be more like 20 or 22, but you're just never going to get that with Rory. He's too big of a name. And because if there's any course on tour that is going to get Rory McIlroy back into it, it's going to be this one. We talked about Jordan Spieth a few weeks ago, needing to get back into it, played some courses he was good at, wound up winning an event. Jordan Spieth is back. Rory's going to be back. No doubt about it. He's going to be back. I think this could be the week because of the familiarity with the course that could get Rory with a month off back on track. To me, John, this is the ultimate battle of recent form versus course history. Terrible recent form, best course history possible with a guy who's played better than here than anybody else. We'll see what wins out. I'm a fan of him coming back on this. Maybe he won't win, but at 18-1, I think it's worth it. Keep in mind, even with the recent struggles at the TPC and at the Masters, he's 5th off the tee and 20th tee to green. Take everything else out of the equation.
Yeah.
I'm playing a guy who's 5th off the tee and 20th tee to green. Bryson's number 1 in both. Rory's right there. He had 5 top 10s in his first 10 events of the season prior, including when he finished T10 at the Arnold Palmer with a final round 76. He was right there in contention. Bad final round, and it's all gone off the cliff since then. He's too good to be playing the way he was playing, and I hope the month off worked. At some point, you got to jump back on the horse, and I think a top 10 at 2-1, which this guy has 7 top 10s and 9 appearances at this event. You normally aren't getting 2-1 money for a guy who's done 70% of it, 73% of his appearances have finished in top 10s. 18-1, I think, is a long enough price for me to play him, the all-time money winner. You know, he could miss the cut, and what are you going to do? He's not back yet. But you don't win tournaments and win events and win money by being conservative all the time. And if me taking a risk is playing Rory McIlroy, I'll take that risk.
Well, another golfer on my radar, which I'm curious to know your opinion, because I'm not playing him as a top 10 just yet. I might if you agree, but Dustin Johnson, he had that one amazing run. I guess he finished out of the top 10 twice in 11 events, and now has kind of not been in the top 10 in many events. Is he similar to the situation that McIlroy's in? But obviously, Dustin doesn't play nearly as well as McIlroy does here. But is there any value in taking Dustin Johnson this week?
I would avoid Dustin until he turns his game around. He's had too many consecutive bad weeks. I didn't see him in the field. I would just double check to make sure he's in it. I didn't see him on the odds board. Unless,
I thought he was in. My bad.
So I would not play him to finish in the top 10. But if he was in the event, I wouldn't play him right now. His game is a mess, and you're never getting good odds on him anyway. I think I would take Dustin at a major for sure. The PGA is coming up. This would not be the one that I would take him at because obviously not in the field is not something I want to do. But moving on,
Yeah, and, my model, I have that on the right week too. Well, the import must not have worked. So my bad.
And I only
Um,
knew that off the top of my head because I was looking at the top 10 guys, and I was measuring them out whether it was going to be JT, Rom, or Bryson, and I didn't see Dustin there, so I figured that was the reason.
well, maybe there'll be value in him the next time he plays. Yeah, well, um, on the rest of the list here, one golfer I want to pick your brain with is a guy named Rickie Fowler, who's really fallen off the radar. Now, is this a golfer that would be good to take for a top 20 or maybe even top 10 flyer? I mean, obviously, this would be a sleeper. I'm thinking of having him as one of those pieces in the DFS. He's costing $7,800. It seems to me to be a course that he could, bounce back with a solid effort, make the cut. Is what my bet would be that he does make the cut.
Short
Any thoughts here?
answer, no. Longer answer, there's a difference to me between a Jordan Spieth who fell off for a little while and then started coming back. Rory McIlroy, who fell off a little bit.
Sure.
Really, it's only been a couple of events. And Rickie Fowler, who hasn't been seen or heard from in quite a bit of time, didn't even qualify for the last couple of WGC events. Didn't qualify, has been missing the cut. And again, Rory McIlroy isn't missing the cut in every single event. He's missed the cut in the last two. That happens. TPC and the Masters. When your game's off, Sawgrass is not where I want to play. When your game's off, Augusta is not where I want to play. Rickie Fowler's missing the cut everywhere. And I have profited this year on betting against Rickie because he keeps missing the cut. He has won this event. He beat Rory in a playoff in 2016. This is a course that Rickie does play well. Getting all those facts out there. This could be another one of the recent form versus course history. And people listening would say, well, he's picking Rory, who's playing bad, versus because of the course history. Why wouldn't he pick Rickie? I think it's a different level. Again,
I agree.
Rory's only been a couple of events, two hard bad events, and one bad round at the Arnold Palmer. Rory still had five of his first top 10s in the first 10 events of the season worldwide. We're talking about out in Dubai. We're talking about out in Hawaii. We're talking LA, Florida. He's had good rounds this year. He's had good finishes this year. Rickie hasn't had one in over a year. I'm not jumping back on Rickie until Rickie makes a cut. Let's call it. Now, betting him to make the cut at an event that he's won before, not the world's worst play. I actually would agree with you that, let's put it this way. This would not be an event where I would bet him to not make the cut like I've done 4 times already this year. I would stay away from him, fading him to make the cut. I think he will. I'm not playing him top 10, top 20. The guy can barely make cuts at some of the weak field events. I'm staying away from Rickie. I've said that week in and week out. Not going to be surprised when people pick him because, he has a W next to his name. And the W was against Rory. So this is a course that is good for Rickie, but right now his game isn't much better than yours, John. So I'm staying away until he starts. See, I'm going to treat Rickie like I treated Jordan late last year. Jordan couldn't make cuts. When he did make cuts, he was finishing T55 after a horrible Sunday. He was barely plodding along. Once Jordan started making cuts, a couple of top 20s in a row, sneaking a top 10, it's all right. Now he's getting back. He's going to win one of these events, play him. He won. Rickie's not there yet. Rickie's not making cuts. When Rickie starts making cuts and finishing in the top 20, I'll pick him to win, finish in the top 10. But when I can get 2.5 to 1 on my money on a Corey Connors, who I love betting, when I can get 2 to 1 on a Rory McIlroy, when I can get 2.5 to 1 on a couple of other players who are playing good, I'm not going to waste my money on Rickie until he makes a cut. Let's start there, John. Let's start with Rickie getting back into the top 100 of the world first. Let's go there first.
Yeah, I think you're pretty wise there. I probably won't even put him in my DFS. Maybe one of the 5 lineups I do, but no more than that.
The goal, as we always know, is to get all 6 in the DFS. I got 5 out of 6 last week, but had the top 2 finishers, which is what got me up there. 6 out of 6 the week before. You're playing with fire if you're picking Rickie. Like I said, should make the cut. This is a track he plays well on, but there is nothing in the last 10 months of Rickie Fowler that makes me want to pay $7,800 to put him in my lineup when he goes out and shoots 74, 73, misses a cut, and I'd be like, why didn't I listen to myself? So I'm not going to play him. There's too much other, like, I'd rather have a guy like Emilio Grillo in there, who is probably cheaper than Rickie, and you can get him to fill out your lineup. Here's a guy that's playing well, hits a lot of greens, is third on tour in 73% of the greens, and he has played this course well before. He's fourth on tour in proximity to the hole, 32nd tee to green, has been making cuts, and is 60-1 to win the tournament. I'd rather pick him on my DFS team than Rickie Fowler.
Oh, Grillo is 8,100. I just looked them up. So that is easy to adjust in
right.
the optimization models that I run. That's for sure. $300 I can find just about anywhere. I rarely run up against the $50,000 total anyway.
Mm-hmm. So if you can spend $300 more to get a guy who's playing significantly better. I mean, the guy had top sixes in Punta Cana and the RBC. He missed the cut last week at the Valspar, but look what he did. He shot a 66 on Thursday, 76 on Friday. No idea what he ate for dinner Thursday night, but obviously it didn't work because 66, 76, that's like my front nine and my back nine. So he's been playing well enough other than one round to want to sprinkle some stuff on him.
And I got to believe we're still riding that horse named Corey Connors too.
We are absolutely riding it. I know he didn't cash for us last week. It's very, very rare that Corey Connors doesn't, you go to the ATM and it seemed to be empty last week. He still finished T21. Not good enough to cash the T20 and T10 tickets I gave out, but he didn't have his A game. He had some spurts. His putting has let him down time and time again. It's why he has not won. But you're talking about a guy with 7 top 10s in 19 events, 8th in shots gained off tee, 9th in tee to green, 10th in approach, 11th in total, 8th in accuracy, 8th in hitting greens in regulation. All metrics you want at Quail Hollow. So I'm not going to run away because the guy didn't cash for me 1 week. He's still my human ATM. Finished if T21 is the worst you're going to get, you just scratch it off and move on, because that's one shot away or one player dropping down to get you that T20 and get you some of that cash. I think he hops right back on this. It is a tougher field and a tougher course, but we're talking about distance, accuracy, tee to green, and whether you like it or not, Corey Connors hits all of those metrics. He just needs to get the putter going. The putter is what let him down last week. The putter is what let him down at the Arnold Palmer. If he can figure out that flat stick, this guy is going to win an event at some point this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got to believe, I'll give you a choice. How's that? Xander Schauffele or Justin Thomas? Or both. You can pick both if you want those in the top 10, but I'm leaning towards Justin Thomas.
It depends on what you're going for. If you're looking for a top 10 finish, you can't go wrong with either guy. If you're looking for someone to win the event, I would lean towards Thomas, since Thomas has finished and gotten the job done. Xander seems to finish second and third in every single event. If you're looking to play it safe and conservative and want somebody that's definitely going to make the cut, you got to go with Xander. He's the guy that made 25 somewhat consecutive cuts over the last 2 years. Thomas has been hit or miss. Thomas did win Sawgrass, did finish T13 last week, but he's missed some cuts. He's also finished out of the top 20. So you're getting probably bigger bang for your buck with Thomas, higher risk, higher reward. Xander's going to be Xander. Xander's going to finish in the top 10. That's what Xander does. So if you do that, he does that time and time again. He'll make the cut. He'll get you some cash. If you're looking for someone to play to win, it'll be Thomas. Same thing with DFS. If you're looking for the birdie machine, go Thomas. If you're looking to ensure you get that third or fourth guy inside the cut line, go Xander.
Yeah, I agree. The tough part this week is if you want to take two of the big guys like Thomas and DeChambeau, 11,300 and 11,000, then the value, the hunt becomes in the value between 6,800 and 8,000.
And it is not something. I don't usually play DFS that way. I usually take. In fact, I'm actually someone who usually doesn't take any of the $11,000 guys. I'd rather go get. Last week, my most expensive guy was Connors at 9,000, and obviously it was a different type of field, so he was more expensive. But I had a whole bunch of $8,000 to $9,000 guys, and finished sixth in a 50-50, which I think is a little bit of a waste considering there were 2,000 people in it. But also finished in the top 75 of a 7,000 person event. So To me, I'm looking for guys that I know are going to play well and finish well. I got a little bit lucky with Burns and Bradley, who are cheap guys that wound up playing well. But I would probably never go into an event with two $11,000 guys unless you really, really know who the $6,800 guy who is that's going to finish in the top 10.
Yeah, and that's the hunt. And I agree with the strategy, especially with majors and courses that are tough like this one. That it's better. The goal is to get 6 guys through the cut, and you have more of a chance getting guys through the cut using 7,800 to 9,000 as a ceiling than doing what you had just outlined. But just saying that if you really thought that Bryson and Justin were going to go 1-2, which is a reach because it really doesn't pan out that way. They might be ranked in salary that way, but it rarely ever comes to pass that they end up, the top salary guys end up in that place. So usually one guy barely makes the cut.
Yeah, and I've taken some strategies where I've wanted to play both, and I've done one in one lineup and one in the other, and then of course you mixed with the wrong average guy, and you should have done it the other way. But it's tough. I mean, unless you're really, really locked in, and Bryson might be a guy that I play this week because I think he's going to play this course well. If you don't love the top guys, I would strategize around some of the $9,000 guys. There's really good prices out there. I hit 5 of 6 last week, and the only one that didn't make the cut was the Justin Rose miss that I had. Had Justin Rose made the cut and played decently, we might be retired on the beach somewhere. But that's what happens. You don't hit them all, but you hit 1-2, and then you got Rose missed the cut it badly. So it wasn't even close either.
One last question for you while we're talking the DFS strategy a little bit. I do all kinds of metrics, as you know. One of the simpler ones is points per salary. So that's projected points, which is obviously, basically my mathematical opinion. Cameron Davis comes up tops at $7,100 and 9.3 points per dollar, per thousand. And any comments about him? I know it's a reach, for, top 10 or top 20 bet or anything like that. But my models are saying that he will make the cut. Very high probability.
I mean, he's only played the event once and missed the cut the one time he played it. So it's a little bit of a risk play, reach. But I actually went through a lot of the guys that I thought would do well here, and many of them have missed the cut time and time again. You find a gem like Max Homa, who won this last year. Homa doesn't fit any of the metrics. He's not a long hitter. He doesn't play the long tracks well, and yet he went out and won it last year because of his accuracy. So this is one of the harder events to cap. I remember sitting there last night looking at some of these plays, and some of the ones that I really, really liked were guys that I don't really like to play. Like I didn't want to play Rory McIlroy the way he's been playing. I definitely don't want to play Rickie Fowler. I'm not someone who often plays Bryson DeChambeau because of his accuracy issues off the tee. But this is a course where I was surprised myself that I went more chalk than not. But it's going to come down to which guys you're picking at that 7,200 level. If Cam Davis is your guy, great. He hasn't, metrics-wise, hasn't shown me that it's someone that I'm going to want to play. That doesn't mean I won't end up with him Wednesday night when I can't find anybody else at the 7,200 level. But I tend to take a lot of guys between 8,000 and 9,000 and try to mix and match. And he may be a guy I play with, but I'll have to check that out on Wednesday.
So to cap off the show here for the for this part of it, and obviously you're going to have updates during the tournament. You'll have updates ahead of the tournament and during the tournament. But for right now, it sounds like your top 10s would be Rory, JT, DeChambeau, and I'll let you finish.
Yeah, those guys, as well as Corey Connors, playing a top 20 on Emilio Grillo. And I've done this before, and I'll do it again. I actually like Tony Finau for a top 10. Not going to play him to win. The guy can't win an event until he does, until he proves that he can finish. I'm going to take him in top 10s because he's done that 7 times this year already. Top 11s, whatever you want to. I had 11 a few weeks ago. Close enough. He played well in Zurich for 3 rounds 2 weeks ago with Cameron Champ. 36-hole lead, poor final round, sunk. That's Tony Finau. That's what he does. Plays well for a few rounds, craps the bed on Sunday. I would play him in matchups. I would play him Thursday and Friday, avoid him on weekends. Hopefully he hangs on for that top 10 or top 20 He plays well when the fields are tough. He plays well in long events. I just can't commit to playing him to win, but I'm going to be taking Bryson, Rory, Corey Connors, and Grillo to win. And like you said, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau is top 10s.
That's awesome. And in addition to that show you produced and created called The Daily Wager that airs at 6 o'clock on ESPN Monday through Fridays, which is an awesome show. And I encourage everybody to go check that out because it truly is a great show. It helps me. What else is going on over at ESPN?
We're going to have our chalk piece out tomorrow on this event. So you'll see Anita Marks, myself, Chris the Bear, Felica, and others in the column tomorrow. All the picks we talked about and more. We'll have NBA picks as well tomorrow, as well as Friday. We'll have updates throughout the week, UFC stuff as well. And as you mentioned, Daily Wager, Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock on ESPN2.
That's awesome, David. I really appreciate you being on the show. And by the way, I big better on the Sixers plus 600 to win the Eastern Conference. Just you mentioned NBA, and I couldn't help myself. But anyway, for David and ESPN, myself, the Predictive Playbook, and Wager Talk, may all the wins be yours.